Yo, what is up guys? Guido here, back again with another mini bike video. And in this video, we are going to be installing a clutch spacer. So with all that being said, let's just get straight into the video. All right, and we're gonna get straight into it because it's a super duper easy little install. It's super nice. The main reason why you would want a clutch spacer is if the clutch that you have doesn't have any set screws in it to tighten it onto the crankshaft and it just moves back and forth. That's why you would want a clutch spacer to put in between there so that clutch stays locked in the position and it's not moving back and forth. If it's moving back and forth, you could possibly pop your chain just like that, or your chain and the alignment within the sprocket and the clutch could be out of whack and cause wearing on your sprocket. So it's just really cheap and really good to have. You can buy them online, just washers and stuff like that, or you could even just make one out of a bunch of washers. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is just custom make this one. I'm just gonna cut it in half of a lock collar for a 3/8 shaft, which is the shaft on these Predator 212s. I'm gonna cut it in half, so then I'll have two, one for this project and one for another project if I need it down the line. And then plus doing it myself, I can get the exact size I need. If I need to get one that's bigger or smaller, I can just cut it bigger or smaller. So with all that being said, let's just get straight into the video. All right, so you can see I have the bike mounted on the stand, ready to be worked on. It's just a little bit easier. And the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and do before I start working on this thing is I'm gonna just jack it up, just because it's easier to work on if it is elevated. And you can see this goes pretty high, so you can see it's much easier to work on now that it's kind of at an eye level. So with that being jacked up and done, I'm gonna go ahead and remove my chain and clutch cover. All right, and then using my 13mm ratcheting wrench, I'm just gonna go ahead and get in here and unloosen these bolts, these 13mm bolts that are holding on my clutch and chain guard so that it can come straight off so we can access the clutch and the side cover. All right, and then using my 13mm ratcheting wrench and my regular wrench, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this chain tensioner here, the bolt and the nut on the back side. All right, and then the next thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and remove the clutch with the 13mm socket. Something else I'm also gonna do, just so there's more slack on this chain, I'm just gonna go ahead and just undo the master link so then the chain can completely come off, just so there's not a lot of tension on here when you're trying to get this to, pop off the sprocket or whatnot. So I'm just gonna get my pliers and a screwdriver and just pop that master link out, and then it'll all come apart and then the chain can come apart. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of just aligning the chain of where I'm gonna need that clutch spacer, if I'm gonna need that spacer on this side, or if I'm gonna need it on that side, which I'll need it on that side. It's good to have this on there because obviously you don't want it just going back and forth, and you wanna know what's gonna have the chain mostly aligned. If you put it like on this side and the chain's not aligned, you might pop your chain. So you wanna make sure it's dialed in, and I can see, this is where it's gonna need to be, is on this side. And also, I couldn't really find any clutch spacers that were the size I needed. So this is a 3/4 lock collar, which will slide straight over the crankshaft, which will be perfect. But you can see this is a little bit big, so I marked it. I'm gonna cut it right in half, and then we'll go from there, and then that should be perfect. Plus, this will give me two spacers that I can technically use, if I need them on another build or whatnot. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this with the angle grinder, and then mount it on there and see how it all fits. All right, so you can pretty much see that this is the exact size I need. That's gonna fit right in between there. So with all that being said, now what I'm gonna go ahead and do, just take my chain off again and put it in between the clutch and tighten it all up. All right, and then with that master link out, the chain, you can see, just comes straight off. So then there is enough slack to get your clutch off. All right, and also what I did is I greased the shaft a little bit as well too, just so when you're trying to get the clutch off the next time, it's not going to be stuck on there and it's hard to, get off and stuff like that. So I also greased that up. You can see our clutch spacer here. I'm going to go ahead and just slide that on over. All right, and then with that spacer being installed, you can just slide on your clutch. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and get my bolt, my lock washer, and my regular flat washer, and just tighten it and reinstall it back in. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down just with the impact a little, and it should be good. And that is good. Now with that all installed, you can go ahead and reinstall the chain. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall my master leak now. All right, and with the chain being back installed along with the master link, you can go ahead and reinstall your chain tensioner. All right, and with the chain being installed and tightened with the chain tensioner, now I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall my clutch guard. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it off the stand. And just like that, it is ready to go. And that was the video. Super duper easy, guys. I hope you enjoyed. With all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a little cruise.